Alright, Shalom Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews. Man, it's a lot going on, and I'm constantly analyzing the Israelite organizations and trying to see who is close to getting the understanding of what's going on. You know, it's rough, man, in this Israelite struggle, man, trying to reach the people when you just got limited resources and so forth, you know. And man, I pray that Almighty God change that, you know, before long. But check this out, Hebrews. You know, like I say, I'm constantly analyzing the Israelite organizations and trying to see who history and whose doctrines, the Israelite organization doctrines, man, is they starting to line up with Tanakh history and truth. And oh man, it's disappointing. It's disappointing now. You got some Tanakh Israelites, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, follow Almighty Yah and so forth, and you know they holding on, and you know what I'm saying, and they trying to keep the struggle going and alive. And but it's some big organizations, man. The Tanakh, man, it ain't really no Tanakh, big Tanakh only Israelites, man, that's pushing the truth, man. Usually all the Tanakh Israelites, man, basically, man, small. And man, I think the biggest ones gonna be the ones up in Chicago, man. They got a pretty good, you know, following. You know, them brothers got some resources and they pulling together and stuff, you know. And you know, they kind of, you know, got a little something strong going on. But outside that, man, the Israelites, man, it's rough, you know, trying to get a Tanakh only Israelite organization in the spotlight on the same level that these organizations see, you know what I'm saying, the Church of the Living God, Church of God and Saints of Christ, you know, the Israelite Church, man, the Israelite Church of Jesus Christ, the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, you know, One West Camp, you know, it's a whole bunch of them. And man, they got a voice, man, and they got a little pull, you know what I'm saying? And hey, man, I can say this, man, about the Bet Shalom Benai Zakim Ethiopian Hebrew congregation. Now that brother Funya Cape was gonna be pretty cool. I'm gonna keep it real. You know what I'm saying? Because one time, man, I had got out of prison, man, and then, you know what I'm saying, I got the family. Man, we was staying in Memphis and still here. And then I drove way up to Chicago, man. They ain't phone the brother, ain't tell him I was coming to nothing, man. And I just drove up there, man. I wanted to go meet the brother. I had heard about the congregation and heard how that, you know, he had association with some long-standing Hebrews that's been struggling for a while. You know what I'm saying? And how he was part of a old movement and stuff with the Israelites, you know, trying to get an identity. And man, I drove up there, man, to kick it with him. And man, the brother come out, man. Man, I called him, and man, the brother answered the phone. Man, the brother answered the phone. Man, I told him who I was, man, and the brother came out, man, to meet, you know what I'm saying, me and the family. And man, it was snowing that day. Man, he could have said, hey, man, I'm busy. Man, I got something else to do, or can you come back later or anything? We didn't get a brother no warning. And the brother come out in the snow and come met us. You know what I'm saying? And man, we went over to his congregation, you know what I'm saying, where they worship at, you know, the Nas Zakim, you know what I'm saying? And you know, man, we took some pictures, man, we talked, man, a good warm brother, man. You know what I'm saying? I got much love for him, man. It's like brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? Got, you know what I'm saying, some respect for him. All right, check this out. how about, the brother come out, man, to meet me, man, and you know what I'm saying, and we kicked it and talked. He gave me some books, and then he, know this other brother, Jehoshaphat, man, they got the newspaper and so forth that I used to associate with, when I first come to Memphis, trying to support any Israelite organization, that was trying to, do something and stuff, even though, our ideologies didn't always line up. You know what I'm saying? That's like with this brother. You know what I'm saying? Our ideology ain't gonna always line up. But we got to recognize that we are Israelites and that we got to find the best way to serve our people. And when we see somebody got a correct agenda that's aligned with, what I'm saying, with the Israelite heritage, that we need to support, that organization. And, that's like the Hebrews need to support the Israelite Brotherhood. There's one Israelite, that, support the Israelite Brotherhood to the fullest. And, much love to you, brother and brothers and sisters that support. But, like I say, man, this brother come out, man, it was snowing, man, and you know what I'm saying, and he, come, to greet me, man, and you know what I'm saying, and embrace me, gave me some good books, man, some good, nice, knowledgeable books, man, that I learned a whole lot from. And, this brother, is kind of respected real wide. It's Funyuns Capers. All right, now, this is what I'm saying, Hebrews, is that it's a lot of organizations. Man, it's a lot of organizations. Man, it's a lot of organizations, and, man, them Israelite organizations, man, ain't showing that we broke the covenant. Not even, the brother, you know what I'm saying, in Chicago, and man, ain't nobody showing how we broke the covenant and when we broke the covenant and what happened to us and what happened to the Israelite nation, and that how all these Israelite organizations basically picked their history up off Jewish history, whether it's coming from the New Testament or whether it's Israelites that then converted to Judaism and using the Jewish version of our heritage, and how they are not showing that we broke the covenant and that we are the covenant breakers, and when was the covenant broken and so forth. You got a lot of Israelite organizations, but they ain't pushing no hard line. They ain't trying to help the peoples see the truth. That's like we need truth in this day and time, because there's a lot going on that our enemies trying to do. Our enemies trying to put our lights out with the vaccinations. They real slick and evil in how they using the Amorite administrative structure to get it done. The very same administrative structure that we Israelites was told to destroy when we exodus Egypt, when we first got the covenant from Almighty Yah to destroy the Canaanite in the Egyptian culture. The Canaanite and Egyptian culture went all the way to the Mesopotamia, and how all the peoples in what they call Asia Minor was affected by the Babylonian and the Egyptian culture. And the Babylonian culture is the worst, man. I'm talking about the worst, man. It's like that's the devil's culture. The Babylonian culture is what you call the devil's culture, the fallen angelic beings culture, and that's that Amorite culture that we Israelites didn't destroy, that's threatening our existence now, because, like I say, man, our enemies are using the Amorite administrative structure and to force us into vaccinations. And then how they'll say, oh man, the vaccinations ain't gonna do nothing to you, and how you can take this shot and be all right. They even got the devil Bill Gates talking about how he done took the shot, and everybody taking the shot, and then they say, look, we're all right, we're all right. They ain't saying nothing about 4 or 5 years from now, when whatever they inject you with start to affect your body and start to break your body down, your immune system, and then next thing you know, you gone up off this earth because you done took that shot, and then they even holding the stimulus package. The stimulus, knowing that the Hebrews are suffering from this, man, the devil is evil and wicked, knowing that the Israelites is suffering because how they cut off the employment because saying that the COVID-19 is spreading, so couldn't nobody go to work, and that you desperate for money, and now that, you know what I'm saying, they holding the stimulus package over your head, mean for you to get vaccinated, to get that money, that you got to get vaccinated, knowing that 5-6 years from now that you're gonna be hurting from that. You're gonna be hurting from that vaccination. That vaccination is finna cut your life expectancy down more than half. And Bill Gates is a devil that every Israelite should be praying, since we believe in Almighty Yah and we know Almighty Yah is real. Every Israelite should be praying for Bill Gates' demise. Everybody should be praying for Bill Gates' demise. All the Israelites should be praying for Bill Gates' demise, because Bill Gates is behind, you know what I'm saying, the taking over the farming land now, and then how he trying to get control of the food, you know what I'm saying, and then how he gonna poison the food next. You know what I'm saying? He gonna poison the food next. He got control of the food land, and then now he want to get, everybody to take a shot, and then by the time you eat his sick food, that oh man, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? And then how Bill Gates and his crew of cronies basically trying to destroy the Israelites, and how that they can genetically modify their vaccinations to where it don't really harm them, and how did it go after certain peoples that's suffering from certain illness, preconditioned illness, hypertension, high blood pressure, and all these health issues that we suffering from, and then they go take a vaccination, and then, man, it's almost curtains. And that how did these peoples know that they're trying to destroy us before we Israelites come into heritage, and how all these plans are sprung about when it get close to our redemption, because the Israelites are promised a redemption, and to be saved by Almighty Yah, and that how that the enemies know that it's true, because how the people been portraying to be Israelites all these thousands of years. All these thousands of years, a group of people's been claiming men to be Israelites, and how that they believe and know that the prophecies are real, and that Almighty Yah is real, because of how they got into the Israelite heritage and the things that the Israelites suffer from that allow them to get into the heritage. So these people know that Almighty Yah is real, and that the prophecies are real, because they have witnessed the prophecies. These are the Amorites, the Sephardites, the Sepharvims from Sippar in Babylon, who we abandon our heritage to. I'm going to explain it all. And it, how we abandon our heritage to them, and how they are Amorites, and how they was around from the start, from the time that we Exodus all the way up to the time that we abandoned heritage. That's why come they haven't put their hands directly on us, but how they developed that Amorite administrative culture that can destroy ethnic groups, or people that's up under their system, which is what's called Western civilization. They can destroy you and systematically destroy you, because these people's roots go back to man, to the Akkadian, Uric, Summer, Sumerian empires, and how they basically destroyed all them ancient empires, but how that they had the administrative knowledge, man, from back then. You know, and I'm reading, so man, I stay studying Sipper in the Sephardims, you know, the Sephardi groups, you know, and I stay studying them because they are the peoples that the culture that we was basically supposed to destroy, and how that they are ultimately geniuses with with the administrative structure and how that controls history too, if you fall up under the Amorite administrative culture, and then how that they can, man, make history go the way that they want it to go, and because they are the writers of it and the keepers of it, and how that our heritage fell into their hands, and then how that they, you know, man, just blotted our heritage out, but how that they are from super ancient empire civilization, man, that's responsible for the taxes, the tax system, and how things are taxed comes from them. They are the origin of the tax, in the tax is evil. Almighty Yah hated the tax. Almighty Yah wasn't with the tax. He was against the tax, and that's why we was to destroy the Amorite culture, you know, along with its evilness, with its gods, and how it functioned. You know, is how the Western civilization functioned. But how did these peoples right here, man, we abandoned our heritage to, and it was from ancient civilization that go all the way back to man, to the antebellum, to Noah's time, and the fallen angelic beings. I got videos explain how they are mixed in with the fallen angelic beings, and that's basically Babylon's history, and then how we Israelites, men, abandoned our heritage to them during the Babylonian wars, you know, and then that's why come, you know, man, I say ain't no Israelite organization explaining that, you know, the Israelites broke the covenant, and when, you know, was the covenant broken for the Israelite nation? When? Ain't no Israelites explaining this. None of these Israelite groups. None of them. They talking about some stuff, man, that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. All these Israelite organizations, they ain't trying to help the people none. And a lot of them got some power. That's like that IU, you know what I'm saying? The ones in purple. Ah, man, they leader Nathaniel got some power, in how that he ain't even trying to help them. He got them thinking that they all right, and that they, you know, living in the covenant, waiting on Jesus, and how that they all right with the life that they got and so forth. And oh man, disillusionment, disenfranchisement from reality, and how many of them people's mind is lost, and how them peoples in that organization is serving our enemies, because not only do he teach the Israelites uh, uh, the Jewish version and the Jewish history, that Nathaniel do, is that he embraced all peoples from all other ethnicities that don't have nothing to do with the covenant, that didn't break a covenant with Almighty Yah, and how he embraced all the peoples in all these lands, the natives, the Hispanics, men, the Africans, anybody, to enrich his organization, and keep them in that, you know, direction and stuff. It's been his agenda, and how that they don't have no truth. And man, that's all the Israelite organizations. Ain't nobody trying to teach the peoples that we broke the covenant, and that we are suffering because of it, and how that we need to come together because our enemies trying to put our lights out. You know, like Bill Gates, like I just explained, how he got the vaccination, knowing that they didn't put everybody out of work. You know what I'm saying? Because of the COVID-19, and then everybody broke, and now they holding a stimulus check over your head saying, get the shot and you get this stimulus check, and knowing 5, 6 years from later that it's gonna be curtains for you. And they know that all this is in accordance with the prophecies that Almighty Yah promised our redemption and the destruction of that Canaanite Amorite culture that we Israelites didn't destroy. So our enemies, man, gonna be real slick, man, and crafty and so forth. And that's the way that they been. And they been, leaving these Israelite organizations alone to keep pushing, false history and to keep misleading the Israelites, and a whole bunch of them, man, that's all, they doing is partying, and ain't nobody trying to really help the peoples and find out, how we can come about this predicament. Because like I say, our enemies know that the history is true, that Tanakh history is true, because the Amorites, who are the Sephardim from Sippar, who we abandoned our heritage to, know that Almighty Yah is real. They know Almighty Yah is real because they are the Amorites that we dealt with and who we were supposed to destroy their land. The very same Amorites who we were supposed to destroy their land, and how did they witness all those prophecies and all those events, man, that took place from the biblical times all the way up to now. That's why they ain't just been too quick to put their hands on us directly, and how they create a whole bunch of organizations, man, within they organizations that they created. That's what those organizations, the Masonic lodges, the Illuminati, and a whole bunch of organizations were formed to do those individuals' will, so that they don't have to be directly responsible for our destruction, and it can't be traced back to them, but through their organizations and so forth, and do the dirty work. They organizations do the dirty work, and them organizations was created to do the dirty work. And how did we Israelites ain't sleep no more? We ain't sleep no more. And how all them organizations was created, man, to do the dirty work, man, of these organizations, them groups who we abandon our heritage to, or that is associated with the Israelites' history and heritage, and how that they created a whole bunch of organizations and religions to deflect from the truth of what happened during the Babylonian wars and so forth. And that's the history that I'm going to take us to, that was the covenant broken. Like I say, them people, man, they done seen, matter of fact, both of them done seen the prophecies of Almighty Yah's of wrath coming to pass, being associated with the Israelites' heritage. And that's why they would create those organizations, and then some of them people will be unknowingly participating in those secret societies, not knowing that they are there to destroy the Israelites, or to keep the Israelites in some type of bondage or yoke, or so forth. And that's what the organizations were created for. And how some people don't know this, but because them groups know that the prophecies, men, are real. So they know that we Israelites have a prophecy of a restoration, and how that they are not the Israelites. When them Jews got the promised land, I'm dealing with some of the family members that got possession of the promised land from the British government and so forth, and how many, all them folks know that the Israelite heritage, men, is real, but how that they done created organizations, men, to do their will and so forth, and to try to hold, men, our heritage and our redemption at bay. But how that once we Israelites wake up to what's going on and pray to Almighty Yah about it, and then how did that change? Because like I say, they know about the prophecies being real. They know that the Tanakh is real because they are the recipients of a broken covenant. Both groups, and especially them, they really know prophecies, man, are real. You know what I'm saying? Because the Sebhardis are the Amorites. The Sebhardis are the Amorites from Sepharvaim, that that was kin to the Amorites that was in the promised land. They one people, and how did they seen prophecies come to pass time after time after time after time. They done seen them just about all come to pass. The Sebhardis have, so they know, you know what I'm saying, that Almighty Yah is real. So therefore, them organizations that was created, in those organizations that was created for proxy dealings to destroy us, man, that them people's man behind it, and how that the people's working in them organizations, some of them know that they doing it to destroy us, and then some of them don't. But this is what I want to focus on, Hebrews. I can go on and on and on about them other folks, but was the covenant broken for the Israelite nation? When? All right, the covenant was finally broken, and then we had been transgressing the covenant from the time that we left in Exodus, Egypt. We stayed on Egyptian culture and how the Egyptians left with us. I got plenty of videos explaining how that Pharaoh tricked Joseph by giving him Asenath, the priest of On daughter, and then how that the priest of On daughter had two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and how that the tribe of Ephraim would keep an Egyptian connection that doomed us. The death culture that doomed us, and we was eventually driven out the land, the 99%, because Almighty Yah tried to give King David descendants a chance. I got a video explaining, about will King David return, and, dealing with King David heritage. And then I also explained how the Egyptians destroyed the promise to King David too. Man, the Egyptians took us down through there, and that's one of the main reasons why, the Illuminatis and the other folks would hold up an Egyptian heritage and try to promote an Egyptian ideology. You'll be surprised who all tried to promote an Egyptian ideology. But we know that the Greeks took Egypt over, man. The Christians, man, Islam, everybody took Egypt over. So everybody would have a little Egyptian heritage, and then how that they would promote the Egyptian heritage, because that's what destroyed the Israelites, man. I got a lot of Illuminati associates, man, on Facebook, man, how I ain't nothing but Egyptian, paraphernalia and stuff that they promote. And that's because, them organizations, man, are connected, to the peoples that we abandon our heritage to, more or less Ashkenazi. But how that the covenant was broken during the Babylonian Wars. It was broken during the Babylonian Wars. And if the covenant was broken, that could the Israelites, is it possible to do a covenant off the promised land? If the covenant was broken, is it possible to do a covenant off the promised land if the covenant was broken? See, ain't no Israelites in them organizations addressing this. Them Israelites in these organizations, they ain't talking about this, man. They way in left field. They ain't, man, they in them camps, man, trying to keep their pockets fat. You know, they trying to keep their pockets fat, man, and how they ain't even using the money to even trying to get us back to the promised land. That if the Israelite Brotherhood got in any kind of position, how my whole effort, including the members and everybody, how our whole goal is to repatriate us back to the promised land, to get us heading in that direction. That's what the Israelite Brotherhood, man, is for. But how ain't none of them organizations, man, trying to tell you nothing, man, about no real Israelite history and so forth, you know, and that how that the covenant cannot be done off the promised land. You know, a lot of us Israelites, men, you know, call ourselves, you know, like to do the Sabbath. Like I say, it's fun to try to do the Sabbath, and it's fun, man, to try to do the Passover, and it's fun, man, to do the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and how I look forward to Passover coming around, because that's like a new year for us, and how that I believe that some of the traditions that we did in the past is going to stand in our new covenant that we get, and how that we're going to be happy to do some of them traditions that our ancestors didn't do. But basically, you can't do no covenant in captivity. You cannot do the covenant in captivity. How you gonna do the covenant being a slave to somebody else in a foreign land, off the only land that you had, and that how you in slavery and so forth, and how you gonna do a covenant in a strange land with yokes on your neck? And we know that all the Israelites were removed from Africa. It took 275 years to remove us, but how we was all taken from Africa to the strange land, like Almighty Yah said, with yokes on our neck, and that how it was impossible, man, to do a covenant. Matter of fact, we abandoned the covenant. We abandoned the covenant, man, at 99.9%, in how we went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. That's why I keep going back to, was the covenant, when was the covenant broke, you know what I'm saying, for the Israelite nation? Was the covenant broke for the Israelite nation? And when? It was broken during the Babylonian Wars. And you know what a broken covenant mean. You know what a broken covenant mean. You know what a broken covenant mean. Ain't no question what a broken covenant mean. Mean the broken covenant is a broken marriage. And if we get a broken marriage, then the promises is broken. The original promises that Almighty Yah made for us, and that how we will prosper in the promised land, and how no nation to be able to subdue us, and how we'll subdue how one of us will put 1,000 of them to flight, our enemies to flight, and how that we are ruled and live in the utopia. But if that covenant was broken, which is that, you know, the promise that we made to Almighty Yah, if that broken marriage took place, that what would happen to us? Oh man, awful, man, awful. And in one of these images, man, they show with some broke, bro, with some broke black fingers. Broke black fingers when the covenant is broken. See them broke black fingers. Them broke black fingers when the covenant is broken, when the promise broken. They know what that mean. That if your hand is broke, man, if your hand is broke, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. You can't even fight, man, if your hand is broken, so forth. And then that's what happened to us when the covenant was broken. And that's why come we living in the conditions that we live in. But how none of these Israelite organizations is trying to tell the peoples, man, what they did to get in the situation that we in, and ain't none of these organizations trying to be no real leaders. You know what I'm saying? And how that they just looking out for their flock and for the people that's in their organization. And that ain't what it's about. You know, it's about extending knowledge out to all Israelites so we can come together under one history, and in it how we can free ourselves, by how that these organizations ain't trying to get free. here in captivity and so forth. They think that they got some freedom because they got some money and some airplanes, and they can fly around recruiting peoples to Hebrew Christianity is what I call it. Hebrew Christianity, and how that they all in Africa. Them Israelites in purple, all in Africa, men recruiting them Hamites men to a Christian version, telling them that they Israelites. And I got videos, men, explaining that. But how ain't none of them organizations trying to tell the Israelites, that we broke the covenant, and that, that if the covenant was broken, man, it can't be done off the promised land. Do curses supposed to be on the Israelites if covenant was broken. Now, this is the thing. The people who we abandoned our heritage to, that's a telltale sign, and that's why they get real mad when you point out that they the bankers and that they control all the industries and the wealth in the Western civilization. Even if they got European Anglo Wasp Protestant names and so forth, and a lot of Jews have changed their names and so forth. But even if they change their names and embrace other religions, and how that they still control the wealth in the Western civilization, and what's European the European countries and in the Americas, Western civilization, and how the banking industry single-handedly controlled the wealth, and that how that no covenant can be done off the promised land, and how you can't make no place of worship outside the promised land where the creator put his name at, and how that's like worshiping up under every green tree, man, up under every hilltop and so forth that was mentioned in the Tanakh. If you got all these places of worship all over, and how did they do, and how did they prosper from this, and how did these peoples that claim a Israelite heritage that's been doing it since the covenant was broken. And I got videos explaining how, once again, Ashkenazi and the Sephardi's got into the Israelite heritage during the Babylonian wars, as I'm finna go into in a little more in detail, that how we abandon everything to them, and how that they don't have no curses on them, and that all the curses and all the troubles that come on the Sephardi is because the Ashkenazi been trying to dominate the whole Israelite heritage, and it took them men a long time to get control of it, but they eventually did. And how that all the wars in the past come about is because the Ashkenazi and the Sephardi proxy wars. That's where the religions come about. I explain that in videos, how Christianity and Islam were created, to fight proxy wars over Judaism, and how that eventually, Ashkenazi created Christianity, the Catholic Church, and the Sephardi's, the Sephardims created Islam, and how that, I could show the Nabateans, who Muhammad was a part of, them tribes, and how that they settled in Petra. And Petra is where the Edomites holdings come from way back in 160 BC, and how they become one. You see what I'm saying? So, we know who, developed their religion because it's based on an Israelite heritage, no matter how it deviated from it and so forth. All right. The Sephardic ideal has always been understood in the terms of political moderation and community unity. Rarely did the Sephardim lose their internal cohesion, that is, until the process of cultural erosion set in. Man, that's violence. Following the Ashkenazi lead, Sephardim abandoned their traditional culture and adapted to the fractious Ashkenazi model under the rubric of a single Jewish nation. The Sephardic particularity with its cultural genius and sophisticated social morals has become a lost value. The Ashkenazi culture, with its deeply unsettled relationship to the larger world, have now become the Jewish standard. See, the Sephardics telling you in so many words that they was defeated by Ashkenazi, and how Ashkenazi hold the Israelite heritage supremely. And I say that coup d'etat happened during Hitler times, because we know that Hitler had 20 Ashkenazi practicing generals, and you can type that in, and that information is probably still available on the computer. All right, them folks would get our heritage after we Israelites abandoned it, broke the promise to Almighty Yah, and then that's why the curses are on us, and we are living in the conditions that we are living in, and how that those peoples who practice Israelite heritage are not living in the conditions that the Tanakh say that the Israelites will be in once covenant was broken. I can easily go through these curses real easy, you know what I'm saying? And we know that the curses represent black history, and how that we would suffer from that. And I want to go back to the Babylonian era, because that's when, everything took place. Why would the Creator let the Babylonians come in on the Israelites, on our ancestors? Why would the Israelites be facing the Babylonians during what was called the Babylonian Wars in history? Why would the Israelites have to fight the Babylonians, and for what reason? It's because we Israelites were messed up with Egyptian religion. Like I was saying at first, how Pharaoh gave Joseph Asenath, and then Asenath had the two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and how the tribe of Ephraim gonna be the youngest tribe, the youngest tribe, and how did they kept an Egyptian association, and then it doomed us, and how that both tribes, eventually Judah, how the Israelite nation, the northern kingdom, which we was one nation during King David times and before, and how that the kingdom split during Solomon time, because it was after Solomon's death, because it was some Israelites that followed King David, and that was around during King David time, and believed in the way that King David pushed the land, and how Almighty Yah made a promise to King David to have an inheritor on the throne, long as they followed, the covenant, and kept the covenant, and how that was conditional and so forth. And like I say, I explained it in the video about King David, but how that those Israelites fell off, and then how the enemies got our heritage, and that how that we was driven into Africa, and once in Africa, we was up off the promised land, and how the covenant couldn't be done up off the promised land, and how that you eventually seen the curses on the peoples that broke the covenant, and how Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews are not those Israelites, because they don't suffer from the curses. I'm gonna read some of them curses. All right, this is what I want to read. Is this right here, man? This is real important. This is Jeremiah. Man, this is gonna be this is what I want to finish saying. About Solomon time. After Solomon's death, the northern kingdom was always on Egyptian religion, from the time of Jeroboam until the time that the Creator destroyed the northern kingdom's army, had the Assyrians come in and take them off, because they was trying to protect the Egyptian religion that was on the promised land, and that how that that the Assyrians took 3 tribes. I prove in plenty videos There is no 10 lost tribes. I got videos even named with that title, No 10 Lost Tribes. You know, they go back, meant to them Israelites being milked. Them Israelites being milked by a whole bunch of these organizations that teach a 10 lost tribe doctrine, and how I show you that that's false, and then how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. You know, I might even throw a little some of that history in, but I got videos covering that, and how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, and how that the Northern Kingdom army was taken, but because they couldn't protect the Egyptian religion that was on the promised land, that would eventually get us driven off the promised land into Africa for breaking the covenant. So the Creator had to remove the Northern Kingdom army. And that'll be, man, if you go to that'll be First Chronicles, that'll be First Chronicles 5. And if you read down to 18, the Reubenites, the sons of Reuben, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful with war, were 40,000 and 303 score that went out to war. So, you know, them gonna be the ones that the Syrians need. They might have been stationed in other parts of the promised land in other tribes, but them the ones that the Assyrians took, because you could see that all the other tribes were still home after the Assyrian captivity. And during this time is when them Babylonian scribes, the Sepharvims, the Amorites, was placed in Samaria in our heritage. And we was on Egyptian religion from Solomon time on down to the Northern Kingdom army was destroyed, and then we was eventually all driven into Africa. All right, you go to First Chronicles 5, and then you get to 26. And the Yah of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh. So this is First Chronicles 5:18 and 5:26. You'll see that the Assyrians only took 3 tribes, and then 7 years after that, will be King Josiah, King Hezekiah time. That'll be Second Chronicles 30. All right, I turn right to it, and then you'll see how he wrote a letter to all Israel. To all Israel. And Hezekiah, this is in 715 BC. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel in Judah, and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem, to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Israel. And then as you read on down, you're going to see, so the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel in Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are escaped out of the hands of the kings. You see that as kings of Assyria. So, and then as you read, you'll see the tribes are still mentioned. The tribes are still mentioned, and then the tribes that are not mentioned, you're going to see them mentioned during King Hezekiah's great grandson to be King Josiah, and the tribes are still there. But how did those Israelites in them organizations try to make it seem like that it was a 10 lost tribe, and then they include everybody into our heritage based upon Jewish history? That's why I say they ain't trying to help the community. They ain't trying to help us come together. You ain't trying to help us come together if you teaching the 10 lost tribe doctrine. You ain't trying to help the Israelites come together. You ain't trying to help us get in a better position to be free from our enemies, because you got us lost in fairy tales that our enemies created to promote their false Israelite heritage. You know, the Jews made a lot of people into Israelites from trade routes. I got plenty videos explaining all this stuff. Everything I explain. I'm the master of the Israelite history. The Israelite Brotherhood is, you ain't getting away. You cannot get past the Israelite Brotherhood on real Israelite history. And how we gonna point it out. But you see how these trade routes, them trade routes, look, that's all in West Africa, the Berbers. Look, you see the Berbers, though, the Berber tribes, they gonna trade real heavy with them, because that's they peoples, the Sephardims and the Sephardists. Them are Amorites that then settled in Africa a long time ago, and they try to give a lot of our heritage and our history that we had in the Sahara to the Berbers. All right, but you see all them Berber tribes and how they did the trade mother with Portugal and Spain, those Sephardists. So they would create that 10 lost tribes myth, but because they converted a whole lot of peoples, them red lands of trade routes, a whole lot of peoples all over the earth, everywhere, man, they created, converted folks, creating false Israelite groups, and so they created that 10 lost tribe myth, to cover it up, and then how the Israelites embrace false people claiming to be Israelites based upon that, them groups that I showed. And it's messed up, man. They ain't trying to help us, man. They ain't trying to help us. They ain't trying to help us. Sometimes you Israelites just gonna have to wake up, even though you like congregating with these organizations and it feel good because you get some type of Israelite expression through those organizations. Man, it ain't no good, man. We got to do better than that, man. We got to do better than that, because our enemies trying to put our lights out. Our enemies trying to put our lights out permanently while y'all playing in these organizations that don't got no truth and don't know no truth. All right, let's go back to the Babylonian wars, man. We got to get an understanding, when the covenant was broken. And then if the covenant was broken, what would the Israelites be subjected to? All right, man, if you go to Jeremiah, basically 10, man, just give it so much. But if you go to Jeremiah uh, uh 11, and then you get to verse 10, man, it says, they are turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers, which refused to hear my words, and they went after other gods to serve them, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Look, the word that came to Jeremiah from the Elohim, saying, hear ye the words of this covenant, and speak unto the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. See, but because the northern kingdom cut off, they cut off. Almighty God dealing with the last little light. The last little light was the tribe of Judah. David follows. But the Egyptians had got to them. The Egyptians got to them because the Egyptians killed King Josiah and put his son Jehoiakim on the throne, who embraced the Egyptian religion, and everybody started doing the Egyptian religion. And then that will bring Almighty Yah wrath out. I got a video showing that after the death of King Josiah, our destruction came real fast, like 16 years. 16 years after his death, man, our destruction came real fast. And we was driven off the land. The word that come to Jeremiah from the Elohim, saying, hear ye the words of this covenant, and speak unto the men of Judah and unto the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and say thou unto them, thus saith the Elohim Yah of Israel, cursed be the man that obeyeth not the words of this covenant, which I command your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, from the iron furnace, like we in now, saying, obey my voice and do them according to all which I command you, so shall ye be my people, and I will be y'all, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I will be your y'all. Hey, we in the iron furnace now. Like I say, our enemies, the Amorite administrative culture is forcing the vaccinations on the Israelites and trying to wipe us out. Trying to wipe us out. And how that man did it. We got to pray to Almighty Yah to bring this system to a destruction real fast. But because how we ain't gonna be able to make it injection after injections, and how that they trying to bring it to an end because they know that the prophecies are gonna come true. That's why they unleashing these plagues, because they know the prophecies gonna come true, because the people we abandoned our heritage to was around when the prophecies was taking place to destroy us. So they know that they gonna come true. Look, that I may perform the oath which I have sworn to your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. Then answered I and said, so be it, O Elohim. That's what Prophet Jeremiah said. Then Elohim came and said unto me, proclaim all these words in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, hear ye the words of this covenant and do them. For I earnestly protested unto your fathers in the day that I brought them up out of the land of Egypt, even unto this day, rising early and protesting, saying, obey my voice. Yet they obeyed not, nor inclined their ear, but walked every one in the imagination of their evil heart. Therefore I will bring upon them all the words of this covenant which I made them to do, but they did them not. So if he bring all the words upon this covenant, men, that's them curses. And the Elohim said unto me, a conspiracy is found among the men of Judah and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They are turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers, which refused to hear my words. And they went after other gods to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have broken my covenant, which I have made with their fathers. Look, the covenant broken. Have broken my covenant. Look, Judah have broken my covenant, which I have made with their fathers. Therefore, this saith the Elohim, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. Though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. Then shall the cities of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem go and cry unto the gods unto whom they offer incense, but they shall not save them at all in the time of their trouble. And that's what happened when we went into Egypt, when the Babylonians came into Egypt, and then how we went into the Sahara, and then how we would eventually be enslaved. And that translated into the transatlantic slave trade, because I could show that the whole Israelite nation went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. You know, the creator dealing with Judah. He ain't got to mention the northern kingdom by name no more, by tribes no more. It's over for them. And like I say, it was over for them, man, going all the way back to when Jeroboam brung the Egyptian religion out, because he was from the tribe of Ephraim, and he was chased into Egypt to his relatives. The tribe of Ephraim is mixed with the Egyptians, and then how did he would come out with the two Egyptian institutions and put it on us, and then how that was keep the northern kingdom 10 tribes throwed off, and then how Judah was eventually caught up to in the Egyptian religion. For according to the number of thy cities are thy gods, O Judah, and according to the number of the streets of Jerusalem have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense unto Baal. That's the Babylonian, Amorite, Egyptian culture. Look, so we was doing that. So that's locked in. We was doing that. And then I'm going to go show you how we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. So we was doing the Babylonian in Mesopotamian culture that the Creator told us not to do long time ago. Long time ago. Let me pull that up real quick. Long time ago. Man, if you go to Leviticus, man, that'd be Leviticus 19. And look, that's like being in these curses and being in captivity, and how the Israelite male don't have no power, and how that the enemy ain't gonna let the Israelite male have no power in captivity, and that how that like after slavery, even during slavery, how that they kept the Israelite male power man away, and make sure we ain't have no powers, and then how after men the slavery, then the Jim Crows, and we was kind of a little bit together. We was forced to because of them, the segregation and so forth. But then how after the segregation, man, they ran the Israelite male man away from his family, and then how the Hebrew woman, man, the black woman, say how she can raise. Now this is a curse right here. How she can raise her own baby. I can raise the Hebrew man. I don't need no black man. That's what the black woman said. In the 80s and 90s is when it really the 70s, because woman couldn't get no food stamps or nothing if a man was hanging around and stuff. And back then, coming out of slavery, not having nothing, how we always need and stuff, and how we'll try to find a way, man, to get that money, from the government and stuff. And then how that they, broke up the families then, and then how the Hebrew woman, the black woman say, I don't need no man to raise my kids. I don't need no man to raise my kids. And I'm the mama and the daddy. And how that turned into men, the terrorists, men, the Hebrew terrorists, men, because it ain't no black male in the household, and how that's a curse because we was broken up and taken into bondage, the Hebrew male into bondage, and then how the woman was forced to raise these kids, and how some of them want to raise the kids, you know what I'm saying, and how did the kids men growed up to be terrorists, and how every Israelite man community is plagued with this madness, man, of these brothers killing, men and robbing, and men and stealing and so forth, killing, robbing and stealing, man. They make songs, men, about killing each other and disrespecting each other, and then they go out and do it. And then how that this is happening all over the United States. Man, this is happening all over the United States, man, in every community. You know what I'm saying? How Israelites is plagued by that mess, man, and how, the black woman, the Hebrew woman, forced to raise the child by herself, and then how that then turned men in the community into terrorists. You know what I'm saying? This one 14-year-old just got killed the other day. You know what I'm saying? Pooh Shiesty. Pooh Shiesty beefing with Pooh Nanny. 30J and 90J is beefing with Slick Rock. And, man, I'm talking about Slime Jones is beefing with CEO Rat. And Big CEO, and, you know what I'm saying, one of them little kids, man, that's singing about, man, all this killings and showing guns and stuff. They just found him dead. Baby CEO. You know what I'm saying, man? All type of madness, man. All this is a curse. All this is a curse, and it come from not having that Hebrew male men in the house. You know what I'm saying? It come from not having that Hebrew male in the house leading the families. So now we got these terrorists, these Israelite terrorists growing up with these single male, these single females. A woman can't raise no male, no matter how much she say that she could teach her son. She cannot teach her son to be a man. A woman cannot teach her son, man, to be a man, and to be responsible like a man. You take a man to pass that on to another man. And how that the women, men is suffering, and how that those are curses, meaning they go back to the curses that Almighty Yah said that, that'll be on us when the covenant was broken. And sure enough, man, you know what I'm saying? We've been suffering big time. You know what I'm saying? That's like in 2019, there were 4 million and 15 million black families in the United States with single mothers. Now, that's single mothers. Man, that's a whole lot. 4 million. This is an increase from the 90s levels when there was about 3.4 million black families with single parents. And then, them black women, them young women that's having them babies that ain't able to control them youths with no Hebrew male growing around gonna produce this right here. Black terrorists. You know what I'm saying? The Israelites terrorizing the community. But man, it's like this one brother singing about all these Israelites getting murdered in the streets. All of them getting murdered in the streets. Now this is a curse. Man, this is a curse. And this is what caused us to get kicked out the promised land also. The Israelites, you know what I'm saying? Killing each other over senseless things. These Israelites dying over songs. Man, they dying over songs, disrespecting each other and over songs, but they ain't gonna go do nothing to the enemy. The enemy will do all kind of stuff to them. They see they people suffering from the hands of the enemy. He ain't finna do nothing. But that's a curse right there. And they go back from having the families broke up during the slavery days, and then how all that can be traced back to us Israelites breaking the covenant. Breaking the covenant, you know what I'm saying? If you break the covenant, man, if you break the covenant, then the promise that the Creator made for us is broken. Our covenant of prosperity and goodness, that's broken, and that's what happened, And then, like the prophet said, man, that we was worshiping up under every tree and every hilltop. It's the same now how Israelites is worshiping up under in every organization, everywhere, doing all the evil wickedness that our ancestors did in the past. Look, what had my beloved to do in mine house, seeing she had wrought doing this in many, and the holy flesh is passed from thee when thou doest evil, then thou rejoicest. It's like now, the Israelites rejoice, man, from doing evil, from gunning another Israelite down, and how they rejoice. Man, it's like one Israelite. Man, we don't know the catastrophe that's finna come up on us now, and how Israelites being tricked into believing that Biden is the best thing for us in our community, and how Biden finna let all, man, I'm talking about the immigrants from every part of South America and Central America is finna come to your local community. Us Israelites that's in poverty, and how that we see it in them. Man, there was this one Israelite, man, that they used to carry the bread to the stores. Man, I'm talking about this how he made a living. He got about 4 kids, 5 kids, man. And he stocked the bread in the store. He was contracted to do it. And now they let some peoples from Central America stock the bread at a lower price and then knocked him out. And now he's suffering and he don't know which way to go. And now they done come about on him. And how that's finna come, because Biden, who you Israelites wanted in the house and believed in and stuff, man, it's like voting for Satan or Lucifer. When you voting for them presidents or even participating in this system, is voting for Satan or Lucifer. But how that he finna let every dreamer and every immigrant he can find, he finna place him in our community. He finna place him in our community, and then they gonna take the injections. They gonna take the injections, and then you gonna stand out for not being vaccinated. You know what I'm saying, in these communities, and how they're gonna probably make a law to come get us. But how did the Biden and then that Lady Harris, mean, even if she got some transatlantic ancestry, but how did they use the woman, man, to man, to hold us back. You know what I'm saying? They always give the Israelite or the black woman some power because they know that, 9 out of 10 and woman gonna be married to a Caucasian and so forth, and then how that they gonna, direct her and tell her what to do, and how she just own it for face value, face showing that, that we progress when really it's no progress, and it's, finna be some misery and suffering behind them folks being in the office, because now they finna let every immigrant that they can find around the world, they finna come place them in the Israelite community and make it extra hard on us. And that's coming soon, you know. So I don't know what, man, we Israelites, man, gonna have to come together. That's like I say that these leaders in these groups, they ain't caring, with all them immigrants come, some of all these immigrants on their way to our community. Some of the Israelite organizations is looking at it as a sign of profit, and how that they finna trick them folks out their money by misleading them and telling them that they Israelites when they not, and so forth. And how some of these organizations is finna prosper from the our community being invaded by, peoples from other ethnic groups. And we know that that's a curse too. Let's look at this curse right here. That's a curse. Folks come in your neighborhood and then take all the resources. All the resources, don't leave you nothing. And then, if you ain't got no resources, man, to survive on, and then you got to depend on the government, man, the government gonna inject you. You gonna get injected. And then to get injected or to be taken any type of vaccinations from our enemies in captivity, it is doomed for us, because our enemies ain't never cared about us. The federal government ain't never cared about the so-called black community. The federal government tried to keep enforcing slavery and help enforce slavery laws. The federal government ain't never gave us reparations for the hundreds. You see how all these people suffering because the COVID-19, well, the Israelite peoples, the blacks from the slavery days suffered, but how that they ain't never tried to compensate for that. And now that even if they tried to give us some type of compensation, and how the money ain't finna be no good, because America is being disconnected. The American dollar is being disconnected from the world currency and so forth, and how it's not finna be the number 1 world currency to settle your trades in anymore in the world, and how the dollar finna be basically worthless, and how we finna be like a third world country here in the Western Hemisphere, and how ain't none of these Israelite organizations trying to teach the peoples no truth. And look here, this is the curse with all them peoples coming into our neighborhoods and taking over, and how we suffering right now today about it. The stranger, this is Deuteronomy 28, 20 or 34, 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So the stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. That's a known fact that all these Hispanics, man, I'm counting a whole bunch of them that just moved into the community, and man, how they own all the tie shops now, all everything, man. We can't, man, I can't even get the Israelites, men together, men, to help me get a brother a flag that's over in another nation. The Israelite Brotherhood got a brother over here in Turkey, you know what I'm saying? He got a good, strong member over in Turkey, and much love. And the Israelite Brotherhood do appreciate you, and much love to you. But how the Israelites, man, it's hard to get them to try to even get a little flag, you know what I'm saying, for a brother and stuff. And how I know that, man, it's hard for us, but how did these other folks come into our community, man, and they work together, man, and they own everything overnight. overnight, and how we finna suffer behind this. We Israelites finna suffer coming soon, but because your leader not telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? If you in these organizations, meaning if you in these organizations, meaning your leader is not telling the truth and not showing you that we broke the covenant for Egyptian religion and that we are enslaved because that, and that no covenant can be done off the promised land, and that how we are in captivity. If they ain't explaining that to you, then they ain't teaching you no truth. And you need to come on up out them organizations. You know, you need to come on up out them organizations. All right, Hebrews, let's go back. Man, the covenant was broken. The covenant was broken. And then if the covenant was broken, then punishment, slavery, bondage, and that how no Israelites can do the, the covenant man up off the promised land, and how the covenant was only for the promised land and for the promised land only. That's why the Creator kept saying that I brung you to the land flowing with milk and honey and so forth, and how he gave you this good prosperous land and so forth, and how that once you was driven off that land, then man, it's over with. It's curses from then on out, and how it's no prosperity and so forth, and how that the covenant was broken. The covenant was broken. So how all these folks, living good when the covenant was broken. Look, Israelites, I can show that Israel was still around during the Babylonian times, man. You know what I'm saying? If you go to Jeremiah 3, and then I'm gonna read how we broke the covenant for Egyptian religion. All right, man. If you go to Jeremiah 3, man, you'll see, man, that it says, man, that man, we was messed up, man. The Elohim has said unto me in the days of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel has done? Now Israel around during King Josiah time now. Now King Josiah is after the Assyrian captivity. I might go show some of their history. Look, the Elohim said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel had done? She is gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there had played the harlot. And I said, after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me, but she returned not. And her treacherous sister Judah saw it, and I saw, when for all the cause whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce, covenant gone. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. And it come to pass, though the lightness of her whoredom, that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stalks, and yet for all this her treacherous sister Judah, that had not turned unto me with her whole heart, had faith, said the Elohim. And the Elohim said unto me, the backsliding Israel had justified herself more than treacherous Judah. Go and proclaim these words toward the north, and say, return thou backsliding Israel, said the Elohim, and I would not cause my anger to fall upon you, for I am merciful, said the Elohim, and I will not keep my anger forever. See, man, the tribes of Israel was around during Jeremiah time, which was the Babylonian wars. As you can go to Second Chronicles 30. Second Chronicles 30. And King Josiah, you see how he just mentioned his name. So this is way after the Assyrian captivity. This is way after the Assyrian captivity, and how the Assyrians are not on the map anymore. But if you read King Josiah's history, you're gonna see that the Israelite nations were still home, all the tribes, and these would be the tribes that were mentioned that were not mentioned under King Hezekiah when I showed that the tribes were home during this time. Any tribe that wasn't mentioned then would be mentioned under King Josiah's time. And then we was at home. And then how we wasn't gone to know Assyria, as I read that how Almighty Yah told Prophet Jeremiah how backsliding Israel was justifying herself, more than Judah. But look, Josiah was 80 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 130 years. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Elohim, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the Elohim of David his father. And in the 12th year he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places and the groves and the carved images and the molten images. And they break down the altars of Balaam in his presence, and the images that were above, high up and above them he cut down, in the groves and the carved images and the molten images he brake in pieces, and made dust of them, and strode upon it the graves of them that he that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests men upon their altars, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. And so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattucks round about. So let's get a map and you can see what all he cleaned up. So this is after the Assyrian captivity. And look, he from Simon all the way, man, to Naphtali is gonna be way up here with Dan in the northern kingdom, about the same as his father, his great granddad Hezekiah had asked all them to come to the Passover dinner, and they there after the Assyrian captivity. So those Israelites not saying that we broke the covenant, all the Israelites, men, is telling a lie, and in them groups ain't teaching you no truth. So look, so did he in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simon, even unto Naphtali, with their mattucks round about. And when he had broken down the altars and the groves, and had beaten the graven images into powder, and cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel, look, throughout all the land of Israel, he returned to Jerusalem. And then you'll see that he constantly dealing with the people. This is before the Assyrian captivity. The Egyptians would come kill him because the Egyptians couldn't come across the promised land long as we doing the covenant. We broke the link between the Egyptian and the evil Mesopotamian culture that we were supposed to destroy. We broke the link, and then they, destroyed us, killed King Josiah, and then, put us on Egyptian religion, re-establishing that link. And then we would go into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion. And our enemy seeing this, and then we would be enslaved. Look here. And we can see that King Josiah cleaned up the whole Israel. Look. And Josiah took away all the abominations out of all the countries that pertained to the children of Israel, and made all that were present in Israel to serve, even to serve the Elohim their Yah. In all his days they departed not from following the Yah. MC, all his days, in all his days they departed not from following the Elohim, the Yah of their fathers. So the whole Israelite nation, everybody was following the covenant when King Josiah was around. And then the Egyptians killed him. This evil, wicked Egyptian who our enemies hold up. You got an image, man, of Nicho in the statue that we was enslaved with. Man, that's the devil that killed King Josiah, Nicho, and our enemies got an image of him in the museum, the New York Museum, and then they got an image. They got the actual statue that was in Heliopolis when we was enslaved and went into slavery. This obelisk was erected. Then when we Israelites was in slavery in Egypt, this was erected They call it the Cleopatra needle. And then how did they bring it over here to the Americas, which symbolize our Egyptian bondage. See, the Cleopatra needle is what it's called. Okay, that image of Nietzsche, he killed King Josiah, both of these images in New York. We Hebrews would have seen the obelisk in Prophet Moses' time. See, we would have seen that Egyptian city of Heliopolis, man, around 1450 BC. You know, we would have seen that obelisk that's in New York right now that they brought from Egypt. It was around when we was in bondage in Egypt, and how did they bring it here to the Americas. All right, Hebrews, let's go to when we broke the covenant and went into Africa, and how did these Israelites never return back to the promised land, and how did the covenant was broken, and how it can't be two covenants, a covenant not broken and the covenant broken. That if the covenant was broken, then how are these people's claiming the Israelite heritage off the promised land? How did they get the Israelite heritage? It's because we abandoned it to them during the Babylonian wars in the book of Jeremiah. And if you go to chapter 44, verse 15, 16, 17, and 18, we was all eventually driven into Africa. Then all the men, look, this is everybody, but Judah being the spokesperson. Judah being the spokesperson for all the tribes. And if you go to Second Kings 25, 25, 26, this is all the nations. This is all the peoples going into Africa besides that little 1% that was captured and took into Babylon. And and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they was afraid of the Chaldeans. See, the whole promised land was up for grabs because the Israelite army ran into Africa trying to get away from Ashkenazi, who was called, the Chaldeans. And then how did the promised land was up from grabs for then on out. Because this is what we said when we got into Africa. I mean, if you go to Jeremiah 44, then all the men which knew that their wives had burnt incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. We never come back up out of Africa. We never come back out of Africa, man. Uh, After that, we never return back to the promised land. We never return back to the promised land is because when that 1% come back from Babylon, they never recorded the Queen of Heaven worshipers, which is that Ra, Amen, Ptah, Amen, Ra, Is Horus religion. And how do we never come back out of Africa to be reunited with these folks? And we know that the army went into Africa. The army, the Israelite army went into Africa. So we know that if the army had came back out of Africa to be reunited with the exiles, that it would have been recorded, because that would have been something real serious. And how enemies would have raised a fuss, about the Israelite army coming back up out of Africa to be reunited with the exiles. They would have wrote that down in history. That'd have been something serious. But how did the Israelite army went into Africa to live with the rest of the Israelites? And then that's when you read this right here. Jeremiah 43. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto all the people all the words of the Elohim their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then Azariah the son of Hoshea and Johan the son of Ker and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah hath not sent thee to say, go not into Egypt to sojourn there. But Baruch the son of Ner said thee on against us for to deliver us into the hand of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death and carry us away captive men to Babylon. You know? So Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces and all the people obeyed not the voice of the Elohim to dwell in the land of Judah. Both Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces took all the remaining of Judah that returned from all nations, where we come from everywhere, whether they had been driven to dwell in Judah, even men and women and children and the king's daughters, every person that Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, had left with Gadiah the son of Hakim the son of Shaphan and Jeremiah the prophet and Baruch son of Ner. So they came into the land of Egypt, for they obeyed not the voice of the Elohim. Thus came they even to Tapanhes. You see, so the Israelite army didn't come back up out of Africa when the Babylonian captivity ended, when Cyrus defeated the Babylonians, and how did we never come out of Africa to be reunited with these folks, and how we are with Nehemiah, Ezra, and them, and how we are the Israelites, the 99%, and how our enemies know this. They know that we are the Israelites that broke covenant and ran into Africa, and how that they don't witness all these curses on us, and how that they know that no covenant can be done off the promised land, even though they pretend to be Israelites. See, them other Israelite organizations ain't gonna teach you Israelites none of this. You know, was the covenant broken for the Israelite nation? When? I just read it. During the Babylonian wars, when we said we was going into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, and how I showed you that them Israelites, the Israelite army, you know, the people gonna go where the army go, because the army is protecting the people, and how the army didn't lead the people back into the promised land after the Babylonian wars ended. You know, that's gonna be why come some of us men are like this today. You know what I'm saying? And because, you know, the Israelite army went into Africa, and then they done separated the male from his family. And how that those warriors, these young Israelite warriors, are misguided right now. But how we going to get it right? We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. All right, but the covenant was broken. Is it possible to do a covenant off the promised land? Impossible to do Almighty Yah covenant. You need the Levites, man. You need the cities of refuge, man. You need sheep and goats for sacrifices. You need the priests. You need the Levites, man. It's a whole man. You need the ark, and then you need the place where Almighty Yah placed His name. Once that name was placed in Jerusalem, it was locked there, that it couldn't be removed unless the temple was destroyed. And if the temple was destroyed, then the covenant was broken. You see? Man, it's that simple. All right, Hebrews, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. I think you Israelites got a little more understanding, man, of how them other Israelite organizations, man, they ain't helping us. And you Israelites gonna have to find a way, man, to reach out and support the Israelite Brotherhood so we can get some power. And you know, we get some power, man, I'm not gonna sell the people out. I'm not gonna sell y'all out. And that's how we gonna get something done. We're gonna get something done. Shalom, Hebrews. I pray that everybody's safe, and much love to the Israelite Brotherhood family, and all you Hebrews stay safe. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood. I'm waiting on my Israelite brother to drop a little information to. Maybe, when that flag get to him, that, he might go on and do a little history, see what he dropped. Much love. This is Israel Ben Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Messenger for the Israelite Brotherhood.